I didn't. But I think we're good now. So this is a painting I've been kind of working on and off for a little while. Kind of took a break from working on it, and I thought, this would be more interesting than watching me start something entirely from scratch. So, yeah, I'm just going to kind of play around with this and see where it goes. And I just pulled up the live chat. Just put up the live chat, so now I can actually see what people are commenting. And hello to everyone watching. Hope you find this somewhat entertaining, at least. And I'm going to try to find a way back into this painting. So. Awesome. Good to hear. So we'll see how this goes. I may switch to working on something else just because I'm looking at this piece and remembering why I kind of moved on from it for a while. There are just some major problems that I didn't resolve in the sketching phase that will now need to be resolved in kind of the painting phase. And I kind of wondered, is this particular piece going to be worth that trouble? So we'll see. If I get frustrated with it or just sick of wrestling with it, we'll move on to something else. So yeah, if you have any questions about what I'm doing, or just want to chat about something, ask me things, even if they're not necessarily art related, um, feel free. Excuse me. So what I'm doing right now is the structure up here is supposed to read as being kind of spherical. So I'm just dropped in a circle shaped selection to try to get the different parts of this to sort of fit in that circular space. So that's what I'm doing right now. And we'll see how it goes. This is what happens when you try to do a painting filled with exactly the kinds of things you're bad at. Hi there, Sarah. So, like I said at the top, if you have any questions about what I'm doing or just want to chat about anything, you know, whether it's, anything of interest, try to keep it all, pretty safe, video games, movies, fun things like that, art. Um, we won't get into the weeds on anything. Uh, okay, what am I doing? So, like I had also said at the top, this is a piece I had kind of set aside for a while. It's something I had been working on in the past and kind of moved on from just because I um, wasn't wasn't completely feeling the concept at the time, and there were just some problems with it that I hadn't worked out in advance that were sort of keeping me from moving forward. And it's still the case that I haven't figured them out, but it's also something that I have in progress that I can work on rather than having to lay all the boring groundwork when you're first starting, where it's just this bare bones sketch and I figured this would be more interesting for people to watch than starting from totally from scratch. At this point, I'm largely just trying to correct all sorts of things that were not right in the initial sketch. It was kind of a very small, loose thumbnail that I got excited about and decided because you can do this digitally, you can just kind of jump into things and say, I can fix it later. And sometimes that works out, and uh, most of the time it doesn't. But at the time, I was just like, I just want to start. I don't feel like doing all that other prep work. And it came back to bite me. But I've actually kind of since become a little more disciplined about getting the sketch right before I start painting it, so that I don't have to go back, and it's much easier to go back and add in different lines, erase lines, change lines, and to go back in and repaint large sections of a painting in progress. Again, the temptation with digital is just to jump right into the quote unquote fun part. Although people's opinions may vary as to which part is the most fun, but I like the putting color down and the rendering and watching it kind of come to life. That's the part that I think I enjoy the most, and so sometimes the temptation gets the better of me, and I end up skipping ahead a little bit. Okay. So, largely what I'm doing here is just eyeballing this. And in the context of a painting, um, I find that that often works because it's more about something looking correct than it being absolutely correct. And I feel like, I've got enough confidence in my ability to do that, that I feel comfortable doing it. Again, one of the perks of working digitally, one of the gifts and one of the curses. You can keep changing something for as long as you want until it's right. But it also sometimes means that you end up spending a lot of time doing something that would have not taken very long if you just put in the prep work. My apologies if this is a little bit headache inducing, all the zooming in and out. I tend to frequently check what I've done to my painting from a distance to see if it's sort of contributing to the overall effect, if it's sort of helping the whole image, or if I've started to go off track a little bit and am adding some things that don't quite work. So I'm frequently checking what I'm doing. I try not to go too long without checking, because when I do that, sometimes I'll zoom out and look at it and be like, oh my gosh, I just spent 20 minutes adding all these marks that really are not working, that really are like hurting it, or taking it off. They're not contributing to the whole of the piece, and that's been a struggle for me for a long time. That tendency just to kind of get sucked into noodling around in one area for an extended period of time. without double checking that it's actually helping. So I've learned to be much more vigilant about that. So one bad painting habit I've learned, or one bad trick that you can kind of get away with digitally, is that if you're really not sure what to do with an area, you can always cover it in some nice mist or fog, uh, something like that, and people will buy it. They'll be like, "Ooh, that's mysterious," and it's like, "Nah, I just didn't either couldn't figure it out or didn't want to figure it out." And so you just, but if you're good at it, if you get good at painting fog and mist, and this is not really advice, this is kind of half joking. Get really good at painting fog and mist and things like that. Just paint some really good fog and mist where you would paint the other thing that you don't want to paint. So and people will like it. So yeah, that's my bad artist advice. How to get away with not doing things you don't want to do in your art. And again, this probably applies more to working digitally. I'd imagine that if you're working traditionally and you're the sort of artist that really lays out a roadmap of what you're doing in advance, that may not work. Having come from a traditional background and being one of those painters that would put 50 layers of paint over the same area because I hadn't properly thought through what I needed or wanted to do with that area, and ending up with a painting that was an inch thick. Again, my experience is that that advice doesn't apply as well. Again. Okay, kind of. Yeah, this may be a piece I end up trying to finish. One of my recent pieces sort of took some of the visual cues from this piece and incorporated them, but I may actually end up trying to finish this one because it's sufficiently different that I think it has something new to say than that piece, and I feel like I'm starting to get a handle on some of the structural problems of the initial sketch and starting to kind of get those under control. And sort of seeing a path forward with it. What time it is here? Okay. So I'm using this sort of chalk brush because I like the fact that it gives me a lot of texture and a lot of variation in edge, depending on how hard I push and the kind of direction I'm going in. I found with, I used to use mainly a hard round brush quite a lot, and that required me to manually go back and add usually a ton of texture. What this allows me to do is actually I kind of have a lot. I'm kind of front load the painting with texture. This wouldn't necessarily, and then I go back and sort of edit out the texture I don't want, painting over it with a hard round brush, making edges firmer. And I found it actually works faster and generally gives the finished painting more character. Some of my works, I feel when I look at them, they look very, very smooth, kind of like plasticky. And I'm liking that this gives them a little bit more of a painterly quality. Paintbrushes, pretty much in their nature have texture, and so you're always putting down some kind of texture with them. And being able to incorporate the natural texture of the brush into the textures you want in your painting kind of, I don't want to say it's a shortcut, but it can be a shortcut rather than having to individually paint all of the textural qualities that you might want. The brush sort of can sort of automatically instill a certain amount of texture. And so I'm trying to simulate that with the digital tools. because there are parts of this I'm going to want to sort of recede into the background to be less crisp and clear. And rather than having to go back and sort of manually do that, some of these areas are just going to, they'll either take very little adjustment, or they may stay the same. They won't require quite the level of work that maybe if I painted it really smoothly in the first place, it would that would require me to go back and make more dramatic changes. Okay, so I've been messing around with this upper part for a while, and so I may move on from it, kind of give my eyes something fresh to look at. Maybe come back and I'll sort of see, kind of come back with a fresher perspective and have an even clearer sense of what needs to be done next. So I think I'm going to actually try to work. Where do I want to go? Let's play with these clouds. Yeah. Now, the cool thing about art is that, well, the cool thing about painting, the cool thing about working in a representational but fantastical style is that you can do things that don't make logical sense but look cool, or you can sort of stretch logic to accommodate what looks cool. Because at the end of the day, erring on the side of cool is almost always a good bet. And so it's probably the case that these blue clouds would be illuminated to some degree by this yellow to reddish to pinkish light. And I feel comfortable taking the liberty to really be judicious about how much I let that be the case. I may bring in some sort of yellowish pinkish highlights here and there. I may not, I don't know, but I don't feel like I have to know the science or the kind of deeper logic of how the light would interact, apart from just what applying things I've observed out in the world in the ways that I want, and just doing stuff that sort of stays within the approximate reality of clouds, but maybe breaks some rules and just looks cool for kind of for its own sake. So yeah, I'm not not referencing them heavily. I'll use cloud reference sometimes just to get a general sense of like form, to remind myself of what kinds of characteristics clouds can have. And then I can sort of go from there and decide what I want to include or exclude and how I want to use it. So I'm going to be wrapping up here in about 5 minutes. And at this point, I'm not sure how many folks are watching. It only says 2 on my end, and I know at least one of them is me. So, yeah, if the person watching has any questions, please feel free to ask. If you just want to listen to me occasionally comment on what I'm doing, that's fine too. This stream is going to be uploaded to YouTube once it's finished, so anyone that finds this, hope you enjoy it. Hope you have enjoyed it if you've made it this far. I hope to be doing more of these in the future. I find I'm able to sort of work pretty well while doing it. I just don't find it too distracting or anything. Please leave any feedback you may have about my presentation. I know that I'm probably saying a lot. I may be stuttering here and there. So if you have any feedback as far as the quality of the stream, how I'm doing, talking about what I'm doing, any annoying tics I should try to work on so that those aren't distracting. And sort of the last thing I want to do before I sign off is kind of shill myself a little bit, which I know is not everyone's favorite part. It's not mine either. But I am one of the exhibiting artists in Gen Con Online. I think I'll leave a link in our underneath this video once it's posted to the Gen Con website. You can find my work on there. You can also find my work on philipmyersart.com. I'm currently I just launched a bunch of new products on my web store as of the time of this recording. So I've now at one point I just offered prints. Now I've got playmats and phone cases. I've also got a discount code you can use for anything in the store. It's for 10% off. The code is GenCon10, all caps. So yeah, if you want to check that out, feel free. Gen Con Online runs through August 2nd. I believe that you can still get a free pass on their website. And I'm not sure what all that will afford you at this point, what kinds of things you'd be able to do, but I know it's Gen Con normally, when it's held, is one of the largest, is perhaps the largest gaming convention in the country. So I'd imagine there may still be opportunities to play games virtually through the Gen Con website. Join up with groups and play games virtually. If that's something you are interested in, I'm not entirely positive, but that may be worth checking out. Yeah, so it is about 2 minutes to, so we'll put a few more marks down, and yeah, just kind of, yeah, it's looking a little cleaner, some of those edges are getting sharper. That sort of rotunda up there, the sort of lattice-like rotunda up there is starting to look better. Yeah, this may be a piece I come back to. So this may be a piece I stream working on at some point in the future too. So thank you all for watching, and hopefully you'll tune back in the future.